When you step back, everything starts to change. Stopping the chase is not giving up, but a strong decision to reclaim control over your own life. For a long time, we've been taught that in order to succeed, to be loved, and to have value, we must always be present, always respond, always be ready for others. But have you ever thought that these very presences may cause you to lose yourself little by little? Think about the habits in your life. How many times have you answered unnecessary calls or responded to messages when you were in the middle of something important? How many times have you stepped back, accepting to sacrifice your time and energy just to please others? And have you ever asked yourself, are these things truly worthy of your value? When you are too willing to be there for every situation, you unintentionally teach others that your time has no value. People begin to take it for granted that you will always be available, and this gradually turns you into the extra in your own life. They no longer see you as someone valuable, but as an endless resource they can call on at any time without a second thought. You've unintentionally lost your own self-respect because you give too much without receiving enough in return. Then one day you begin to feel exhausted, drained. You can't understand why you always feel empty despite giving so much of your time and energy to others. That is the price you pay when you don't set clear boundaries with yourself. When you don't have time to live for yourself, when there's no space to listen to your inner needs, you've allowed your life to be governed by others without realizing it. But you don't need to run to be recognized. Your value isn't in always being present. In fact, when you stop chasing attention, you'll realize that your absence is what makes others begin to see your real worth. They start to realize that your presence isn't something they can take for granted. When you're no longer there all the time, they begin to see the value in you. They begin to feel the rarity of your presence, and that will make them respect you more. However, this doesn't mean you must completely withdraw from everyone. You don't need to discard all relationships or do the opposite of what you've done before. It's simply about knowing when to stop. When you allow yourself to step back, you're not only giving others space to recognize your value, but you're also creating space for yourself to grow. What you need to do is start with yourself. You must learn how to say no to things that no longer matter, to requests that aren't worth it. As you gradually step back from unnecessary things, you will realize that the people who truly love and value you will start to come back to you on their own. They will see you as a person of value, not as someone always there to serve them, but as someone who has the right to choose what to do with their time. Perhaps it's a powerful message, one that doesn't need to be spoken, but has the power to change how others see you. Once you learn how to step back at the right time, you will receive something few can have, a respect that doesn't need words. They will naturally understand that if they want you, they must respect you more, not just see you as an easy presence. Mastering your own time and space is one of the most important steps to escape the endless cycle of trying to please others. Don't let your presence become something so easy that others can no longer see the value in it. When you respect your own time, others will begin to respect you more. This is the time for you to reassess your worth, not through words, but through actions. When you step back, you're not only showing others your value, but you're also showing yourself that you deserve something better. You don't need to seek attention or recognition from the outside. True value comes from knowing yourself, knowing who you are, and never losing your identity for anyone. So when you step back, it's not that you're giving up, you're starting to elevate your own value. What you need is not to race against time or the attention from the outside. What you need is time to listen to yourself, to reassess what's important, and to invest in what's truly worthy of you. Don't let others define your value. You are the one who decides that. The world only reacts the way you define yourself. You may not realize this, but it is a fundamental truth. The way you treat yourself, the way you place your value in the spotlight, will determine how others treat you. No one will respect you if you don't respect yourself. This is not just a truth about relationships, but an eternal law of the universe. If you don't establish firm boundaries for yourself, others will not hesitate to cross them and take it for granted. That's why the way you define yourself will determine how the world perceives you. You've probably heard the saying, you are the person you choose to become. This is absolutely true. The smallest actions you take every day will gradually form your identity in the eyes of others. If you allow others to decide You will become what they want you to be rather than being yourself. You must realize that you have the right to decide how you are perceived, not anyone else. This is the power you need to understand and harness to live the life you deserve. The simple truth is you cannot ask others to respect you if you don't first know how to respect yourself. When you disregard personal boundaries, when you don't set reasonable demands for yourself, you inadvertently send the message that my time and effort have no value. And others will receive that message. They will take your presence for granted, and that will gradually make you fade in their eyes. Let me make this clearer. If you don't respect your time and space, others won't respect them either. You will easily become a tool to fulfill their needs without any objections. They will ask you to join in insignificant tasks, make sudden calls, or send messages when you're busy. And you'll do it because you haven't learned to say no, because you haven't realized your own worth. You'll see these people start taking your presence for granted. They don't know that you have your own goals, dreams, and time. They don't understand that you need space to grow, to create, to take care of yourself. This is the moment when you need to change your perspective about yourself. You need to understand that refusing unreasonable requests is not selfish, but wise. When you start setting clear boundaries, others will begin to notice and respect you more. They will realize that you're not always available to please them, and this will make them see you differently. They will begin to see you as a person of value, someone who respects themselves and their time. Only when you understand your own worth will others perceive you correctly. Think about this. If you always say yes to everyone, you are inadvertently affirming that I have nothing more important to do. But if you can say no firmly, if you can hold your boundaries without feeling guilty, you are sending a powerful message: my time is valuable, and I will use it to do things that matter more. This is a wordless message, but has immense power, and that's how you begin to build an image of yourself that others must respect. When you begin living this way, when you understand that you don't have to be present in every situation, you will realize that your relationships with others will change. Those who truly care will not feel hurt when you refuse. They will understand that you also have the right to set boundaries for yourself and only engage in what truly matters. And at that point, they will respect you more. They will feel that when you are present, you bring real value because you are not there out of obligation, but because you truly want to be. The important thing to understand is the relationship you have with others can only be healthy when you know how to protect yourself. If you keep sacrificing without receiving enough in return, you will feel tired and lost. When you run out of energy, you won't be able to maintain sustainable relationships. So start by protecting yourself. Make yourself your number one priority, and then the people around you will respect you for it. One of the most effective ways to do this is to start saying no to unnecessary things. Refuse relationships, conversations, or requests that don't align with your goals. You don't need to explain, you just need to say no. When you say no, you're affirming that you know your worth and won't let anyone or anything diminish it. That's how you build respect from yourself and others. Remember, the world only reacts the way you define yourself. When you understand yourself, when you protect your time and energy, you will find that others will begin to treat you the way you deserve. Respect is not something you can ask for, it's something you build through actions every day. And when you start respecting yourself, others will naturally do the same. And when you live according to your own values, when you don't need to chase after the attention of others, you will realize that you don't need to prove your worth through words. Your value will naturally be seen, and that is when you truly live as your true self. Time is a non-refundable asset, and you are giving it away for free. Have you ever stopped and thought about this? Every second, every minute that passes, you can never get back. Once it's gone, time cannot return. But strangely, we use it, sometimes carelessly, to do things that are not worthy. We are willing to trade our precious time to please others, engage in meaningless conversations, or even waste it on tasks that add no value to ourselves. Life. Let me remind you of this. Your time is your life. Every minute you live, you are investing in things that you deem important. But are you truly valuing the time you're spending? Are you giving it away intentionally, or are you letting it pass by aimlessly? This is not a theory, it's a reality. We live in a world where time becomes something easily traded. One morning you might spend an entire hour just scrolling through social media, seeing other people's posts, thinking about things that aren't really important. A day passes and you feel like you haven't done anything, but you rarely realize that those small moments have been wasted needlessly. Time doesn't wait for you. It keeps moving whether you realize it or not. Every second that goes by is a part of your life you can never reclaim. But what's even more painful is the truth that many of us spend time on people and tasks that don't appreciate us. Have you ever thought that you've given too much time to a relationship with nothing in return? Have you ever gotten caught up in conversations that afterward you realize brought no value to you? Have you ever said yes to an insignificant request simply because you couldn't say no, only to feel drained and regretful afterward? Just reflect for a moment. Your time is not something you should give away carelessly. If you don't know how to protect your time, others won't hesitate to take it. And this doesn't only happen with people around you, but also with yourself. When you don't know how to set boundaries, when you don't know how to say no, you've allowed yourself to be invaded. And of course, when you do that, you will feel drained, lost, and even lose yourself. Time, as I said, is a non-refundable asset. Every minute you give away is a minute you cannot get back. Every second you spend on something unworthy is a second you can never reclaim. This is especially true for those who are always busy with work, family, and other responsibilities. You feel like you always have to please others, always have to meet their demands, and in the process, you forget yourself. You can do everything for others, but in the end, you will ask, is there someone doing something for me? I want you to understand one simple thing. Your time is valuable. You don't have to give others around you the power to take your time away. You need to protect your time, knowing that every minute is precious, and you have the right to decide how to use it. You don't always have to be available for everyone. You don't need to always be present to meet every demand. Setting boundaries is how you protect yourself. The question is, have you truly valued your time? Do you see yourself living in every moment? Investing time in things that matter, or are you wasting it on things that don't? When you decide to stop and think about how you use your time, you will realize that you can change. You can start using your time intentionally to do things that bring value to yourself. Sure, you don't need to change everything immediately, but you can start with small steps. Spend time with those who truly appreciate you. Spend time on tasks that bring you satisfaction, the goals you want to achieve. Start learning to say no to insignificant requests. Learn to say no to things that don't add value to you. And when you do that, you will realize that you're not just protecting your time, but you're starting to respect yourself more. Remember, you are the only one who decides how you use your time. Time is your most precious asset, and you cannot let it pass by meaningless. Starting now, see every minute, every second as an opportunity to do meaningful things, to grow, and to live the life you want to live. No one can take your time away except for you. You can give your time to anyone or anything, but make sure you're investing in things worthy of your value. So, what will you do with the time left in today? Kindness without boundaries will be seen as an obligation. Have you ever noticed that sometimes your kindness is taken for granted without receiving the appreciation it deserves? This is not because others intend to take advantage of you, but because you haven't set boundaries for yourself. Kindness, when not protected, when not clearly defined, will become something people expect. And when this happens, your kindness is no longer a voluntary choice, but an obligation that others feel entitled to request. This is a truth that few people realize immediately, but it's incredibly important. You may think you're doing good for others, but when you don't set limits on your sacrifices, these actions begin to lose their true value. When you give without asking for anything in return, you're teaching others that what you give has no value. Others can't properly evaluate your kindness if they don't see that you respect yourself and your time and energy. Have you ever felt exhausted, drained after doing too much for others without receiving gratitude or proper appreciation? Have you ever wondered why, when you do things for others, they take it for granted, seeing you as someone who never says no? That's the consequence of not setting clear boundaries for your kindness. When you keep giving without knowing how to refuse, you unintentionally teach others that your kindness has no value, that it can be demanded without reciprocation. Boundless kindness can become a debt that you must repay. You might do many things for others because you want to help them, but if you don't recognize your own value, you'll fall into the trap of being exploited. You will gradually become someone others only turn to when they need help, but when you need support in return, they're never there. Why? Simply because you've taught them that your kindness is unconditional, that you'll always be there to please them without asking for anything in return. Think about this. Kindness is not something you need to pay for with exhaustion and depletion. Kindness is a voluntary act coming from the heart, but to keep it from becoming a burden, you need to learn how to say no, to set boundaries. You need to realize that kindness is not an obligation, and if you don't protect it, it will become a burden you cannot bear forever. Therefore, it's crucial to learn how to set boundaries for your kindness. You don't always have to be present to help others. You don't need to say yes to every request. Saying no doesn't mean you're selfish. It simply means you're learning to respect your time and energy. This not only helps you maintain your own energy, but also helps others realize that your kindness is a valuable gift, not something they can demand without appreciation. At first, you may feel guilty for saying no, fearing that others will think you're cold or uncaring. But remember, saying no to a request doesn't mean you don't care about others. It just means that you know how to set clear boundaries to protect yourself and maintain healthy relationships. When you learn to decline gracefully and respectfully, you will realize that others will understand and respect you more. They will no longer take your kindness for granted. They will realize that your kindness has value and is only given to those who truly appreciate it. In fact, kindness without boundaries leads to exhaustion, mental burnout. When you continually give without receiving anything in return, you'll feel drained, and then you begin to feel discouraged, tired, as though you no longer have the strength to face the challenges in life. This happens when you don't know how to protect your kindness. Kindness is not something you should sacrifice to the point where you have nothing left to give. When you keep giving without knowing when to stop, you've put yourself into an endless cycle. Boundless kindness is not a sustainable way of living. The price you pay is too high to continue living this way. You can't always be there to please everyone without feeling like you've lost yourself. And when you lose yourself, you won't have enough strength to do what truly matters. You won't be able to help others genuinely. You won't be able to live a meaningful life if you keep sacrificing yourself to please others. So how can you protect your kindness without becoming cold or selfish? The simple answer: set clear boundaries and learn to say no when necessary. Don't feel guilty for saying no. Remember that saying no doesn't mean you don't care. It means you know how to protect your energy and time. You don't need to please everyone. You need to please yourself first. When you learn to value yourself, others will learn to value you. Only when you set clear boundaries will others truly understand and respect you. When your kindness becomes a valuable gift, you will see the people around you change their behavior. They will no longer see you as a tool to satisfy their needs. They will see you as a person worthy of love and respect. And this will help you build healthy, sustainable relationships where kindness is given and received fairly. So what will you do from today to protect your kindness? Stepping back is not avoidance, but reclaiming control. Life doesn't always demand that you fight, that you stand up and face every challenge immediately. Sometimes the strongest action you can take is to step back, not to give up, but to regenerate strength and regain control over yourself. When you step back, you're not quitting. You're creating space to listen to yourself, to reshape your goals, and to define the next direction. We live in a society where speed and continuity are highly valued. Those who dare to rise and move forward despite all difficulties are often seen as strong, but few realize that sometimes, to be stronger, you need to stop moving forward, to pause all the pressures and stresses around you, to find your inner balance. Stepping back is not weakness, but a strategy to regain strength and clarity of mind. When you can't see the road ahead due to too many distractions, when you feel too tired to continue, stopping and stepping back is the only way to recharge. This is not giving up. It's giving yourself a chance to recover and reassess what truly matters. When you can step back gracefully, you give yourself a chance to self-check, to realize that you're not a machine that always has to run, but a person who needs care, needs time to regain focus and desire. In every relationship, in work, or in significant life decisions, we often feel the need to always be ready and present. But when we always respond to others' demands without stopping to think, we lose control. You cannot control your life if you don't take time to decide what's important to you. If you can't take time for yourself, you won't be able to give others your best. Wisdom, calmness, and self-control are real power. And to achieve this, you need to know when to stop and step back. Stepping back doesn't mean you're avoiding the problem. It means you're creating a necessary distance to assess the situation objectively. When you step back, You're no longer caught up in temporary emotions or hasty decisions. You can see clearer, think more wisely, and make better decisions. This is how strategic visionaries operate. They know when to act and when to stand still. Stepping back is a purposeful action, not a retreat out of fear or lack of confidence. In fact, when you step back, you're actually strengthening your inner power. You're reclaiming control of yourself. In difficult times, instead of rushing to solve things immediately, sometimes calmness and stillness are what you need the most. When you have space to reflect, you'll realize that you can view the problem differently and find better solutions. Stepping back allows you to rebuild strength and patience. So when you return, you'll be stronger, clearer, and more focused. Stepping back also helps you redefine your boundaries. You can't always be there to meet everyone's requests. You don't always have to be the one who's always there to please everyone. When you stop, we're sending the message that you know your value, that you respect your time and energy. And when you do this, those around you will begin to respect you more because they understand that you're not a given presence, but a person of value with limits and personal goals. Try looking at your life from a different perspective. When you stop to rest, to reflect, you're not only creating space for yourself, but also showing others that they can't exploit you indefinitely. You don't always have to be there for everything to happen according to their will. When you step back, you can see who truly cares about you, who is willing to wait for you, and who only comes to you when they need something. That's how you begin to recognize who deserves to stay in your life and who's just a temporary figure. The important thing is that you don't have to face every challenge immediately. You can choose to give yourself space to think, to prepare. Sometimes taking a step back not only helps you solve the problem, but also helps you discover completely new approaches. It's a way to lead your life rather than just living according to what others demand. And when you do this, you'll see that you don't have to follow everyone else. You don't always have to be the one in front. It's stepping back that helps you see opportunities and solutions you wouldn't have noticed if you kept chasing your own shadow. Stepping back is not a sign of weakness. It's not you giving up. It's recharging, regenerating energy. When you can regain control in difficult moments, you will feel true freedom. It's the freedom to decide when to act and when to stand still. When you know when to step back, you will know when to move forward with the greatest strength and determination. So remember that stepping back is not avoiding. It's a strategy to regain control of your life, to reassess what truly matters, and to prepare for the next steps. Stop when necessary, give yourself space to recover, and when you return, you will be a stronger, clearer, and more determined version of yourself. The moment you set boundaries, the world begins to change how it treats you. Have you ever wondered why you feel constantly caught up in others' demands, calls, and desires? Have you ever felt exhausted from constantly meeting everyone's needs to the point of forgetting about yourself? The answer doesn't lie in others asking too much of you. The answer lies in you, in how you allow everything to invade your time and energy without saying no. You cannot change how others treat you unless you change how you treat yourself. And that change starts with one thing: setting boundaries. The world around you doesn't owe you respect until you respect yourself. When you don't set boundaries, you're inadvertently sending the message that I'm not that important. I can accept anything as long as others are happy. Others won't know that you have your own life, your own priorities, your own goals to pursue. When you don't protect your time and space, they'll keep demanding from you without considering what you need. They'll call you when they need something, and you'll feel like you're always being pulled in different directions, lost. You'll never have time for what matters if you keep drowning in others' demands. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It's not rejecting love or care. It's how you protect yourself. When you start defining clearly what you need and what you won't accept, you're telling the world, I respect myself and I expect you to do the same. When you don't let everything invade your time, you're not only protecting your time, but also safeguarding your mental and physical health. The world will change how it treats you, but more importantly, you'll begin changing how you treat yourself. This change is not something sudden or difficult, but it requires you to be firm and determined. When you start setting boundaries, you'll find that those who truly respect you will be hurt. They'll understand that you need space and time to focus on what matters to you. They'll learn to respect your decisions, and this helps build healthier relationships. On the other hand, those who don't respect your boundaries will gradually retreat because they'll realize that you're not the person always ready to meet their demands. The boundaries you set reflect your value. When you don't selectively refuse to help those around you, you inadvertently devalue your kindness. But when you learn to say no when necessary, you start affirming that your kindness is a precious gift not something you can give away indiscriminately. Others will start to realize that your presence is a choice, not an obligation. And when they realize this, they'll treat you with genuine respect because they'll understand that you're not someone always available to fulfill their needs. Setting boundaries also means you begin to understand more about what you truly need and what you can give without being drained. You'll see that when you don't give too much without receiving, you'll feel full of energy and be able to do more for yourself and others. When you set boundaries for yourself, you're also teaching others how to treat you. You're not only teaching them that you can refuse, but also that you are someone worthy of respect, not because you do everything for them, but because you know your own value. What's important is that you must teach yourself to respect your own boundaries. When you respect your time and energy, you not only protect yourself, but also contribute to the world around you in the best way. You won't face mental exhaustion or disappointment from doing everything for everyone. Instead, you'll have the energy to do what truly matters, to pursue your own goals and aspirations. You no longer have to live according to others' expectations. You begin living the way you truly want. Setting boundaries not only helps you gain respect from others, but also helps you gain a clearer sense of yourself. You'll realize that you can't be someone who pleases everyone. You don't always have to make others feel comfortable or at ease, because when you do that, you've lost yourself. You need to live true to yourself, not the version others want you to be. The reason why setting boundaries is so important is that it helps you live a purposeful life. When you begin living with clear boundaries, you're not only protecting your mental and physical health, but also focusing on what truly matters. You won't get caught up in tasks that bring no value or relationships that make you feel tired and stressed. You'll learn to say no to unnecessary things and say yes to what truly matters to you. The world around you will only react the way you allow it to. When you don't set boundaries, you'll find yourself exploited, caught in an endless loop. But when you begin setting boundaries, you'll notice that others will respect you more. They'll treat you with sincerity and understanding. And most importantly, you'll start respecting yourself, because you'll know that you're not here just to please others, but you are someone worthy of living a life true to your value. So start today by setting boundaries for yourself, protecting your time and energy, and you'll see everything change. Your relationships will become healthier and more meaningful. You'll live a purposeful life full of energy, and most importantly, you'll feel respected, not only by others, but also by yourself. Distance creates clarity. Have you ever felt that when you're too close to a problem, a person, or a situation, you seem unable to clearly see what's really happening? You can't properly assess, you can't see the whole picture, and you can't decide the right course of action. But when you create distance, when you step back and give yourself space to observe, you'll begin to see more clearly. Distance is the key to viewing things objectively and accurately. It helps you understand the situation and yourself. In life, we are often caught up in relationships, work, and situations that we feel need immediate attention. We think that our presence is necessary, that we cannot step back, that we cannot ignore. But by staying in that whirlwind, we lose the bigger picture. We can't recognize what really matters, what needs to be changed, and we can't see where we're heading. Distance creates space for you to see more clearly, to understand yourself better, and to make better decisions. When you create distance, you're not giving up or avoiding, you're not abandoning everything to run away. You're giving yourself a chance to observe and think more wisely. Sometimes when you're too close to someone or something, emotions and stress can cloud your judgment. You might be influenced by anxiety, guilt, or the expectations of others. And in that state, you can't make decisions that are truly good for you. But when you step back, create distance, you can see everything from a different angle, free from emotions or dependency on circumstances. Distance is also an opportunity to reassess the value of relationships. In unhealthy relationships, we often feel that our presence is indispensable. We're there to listen, to help, to please others. But when you don't create distance, you'll never know whether the other person truly values you. Distance helps you realize who truly cares about you, who truly appreciates your presence, and who only sees you as an irreplaceable part of their life without recognizing your value. Distance creates clarity, not only in how you perceive others, but also in how you perceive yourself. When you're not always there to meet others' demands, you have the chance to think about yourself, about what you want, and about your own goals. Sometimes when you're constantly doing things for others, you lose yourself in the process. You forget what you really need, forget your own goals and dreams. But when you create distance, when you stop and give yourself space to reflect, you'll realize that you deserve a life of your own, worthy of what you want, not just to please others. Distance also helps you recognize the importance of protecting your space and time. When you have no distance, when you're always caught up in work and relationships, you'll feel like you have no room to breathe. You'll feel tired, drained, and have no energy to keep going. But when you create distance, when you have space to relax and recharge, you'll feel stronger, clearer, and ready to face new challenges. Distance is not just about physical separation, but an opportunity for you to recover and refresh yourself. Sometimes you also need to create distance to set clear boundaries in relationships. When you're always available, always ready to please others, you inadvertently make them take your presence for granted. They start to see you as a given presence, and you've become a part of their life that's not truly appreciated. But when you create distance, when you're not always there to meet their demands, they will notice your absence and start to reassess your value in their lives. Distance also helps you find inner peace. When you're not caught up in everything around you, you can find quiet and ask yourself what truly matters to me. Who am I living for? What am I living for? Distance helps you clarify your priorities in life, helping you recognize what you need to let go of and what you need to focus on. Distance helps you rediscover your life's purpose and meaning, free from distractions that don't matter. Moreover, distance is not just about physical separation, but emotional and mental detachment. When you're too closely attached to others, you get caught up in their emotions, and sometimes you lose your objectivity. But when you create distance, you realize that you're not a part of everything around you. You have the right to decide and protect your own emotions. Distance creates freedom for you to think and feel more clearly without being influenced by others. Finally, distance helps you truly understand the value of presence. When you're always there, you can't see the value of your presence. But when you start stepping back, you'll realize that your presence is a gift. You don't have to show up everywhere. You don't have to please everyone. When you create distance, your presence will become more meaningful, and those who truly care about you will understand and appreciate that presence. Distance creates clarity, not only helping you understand others, but also helping you understand yourself. Distance is an opportunity for you to reassess life, redefine goals, and find peace. Learn to create distance, to see more clearly, to know where you're heading and what you truly want. When you do this, you'll realize that you don't have to chase anything or anyone. You just need to stand firm and recognize that the right distance is the key to unlocking clarity and deeper understanding of life. Silence is the sharpest weapon you can use without speaking. In a world full of noise, where people always want to express themselves, argue, and debate, silence is sometimes the most powerful way to show your strength and self-control. Not everything in life requires an immediate reaction. Sometimes the best way to face a challenge is to do nothing at all. Silence is not weakness, not avoidance, but complete control. When you remain silent, you're not only protecting yourself, but also making others reflect, forcing them to face their actions without any defense or resistance from you. Silence does not mean you have no opinion or don't feel anything. Silence is a deliberate choice, a way to show inner peace and strength in not getting dragged into meaningless arguments. It doesn't mean you agree with everything. It simply means you don't let things that aren't worth your time affect your mood or focus. When you remain silent, you're setting a distance, a space for others to understand that you're not easily provoked or pulled into things that hold no value for you. The beauty of silence is that you don't have to use the power of words. You don't need to prove anything. Silence is a wordless strength. In tense situations, silence creates profound respect, making others feel your stability and confidence. When others see you not reacting to provocations or rude actions, they begin to question their own behavior. Your silence is the strongest message, making them face themselves. In fact, sometimes silence can speak more than a lengthy argument. It's a way to create respect without saying a word. Silence is also a great way to preserve your peace of mind. When you stop paying attention to every word around you, when you don't react to every event, you'll begin to feel life becoming lighter. You no longer deal with things that don't matter, and you can focus on goals that truly matter to you. The feeling of not always having to speak up, not always needing to argue or defend your point, brings a wonderful freedom. Silence is freedom from unnecessary pressure, the ability to control yourself and not get swept into things that aren't worth it. There's something interesting about knowing when to be silent. When you remain silent, you can observe everything around you more clearly. You can listen and see without being caught up in the emotional flow. You begin to notice the small details that when speaking too much, you might miss. Sometimes you'll realize that arguments or conflicts are just expressions of misunderstandings, of insecurities that others want to resolve by attracting attention. Silence allows you to see the deeper motives behind others' behavior, and from there you can make wiser decisions. Think about situations you've been in where silence was the most powerful tool. In heated debates, when you remain silent and don't react, not only do you keep your calm, but you also make the other person run out of reasons to continue. Silence in these situations is a wise strategy. It's not giving up, but it's wisdom in not wasting energy on things that aren't worth it. Sometimes resistance only complicates things further. Silence is how you protect your energy, keep your inner strength, and don't get drawn into situations that bring no benefits. Silence can also help you establish clear boundaries in relationships. When you don't react to negative words or unreasonable actions, you're showing others that they cannot treat you disrespectfully without consequences. Silence is how you show that you won't tolerate disrespect and won't allow yourself to get caught up in meaningless power games. This is a very powerful way to establish boundaries without using anger or harsh words. Silence in these situations creates respect from others because they'll understand that you're not someone who can be exploited or put in uncomfortable situations. The wonderful thing about silence is that it's not only effective in communication with others, but it's also a powerful tool to connect with yourself. When you learn to be silent, you learn to listen to yourself. You learn how to find peace of mind and begin to understand more clearly what you truly want in life. Silence is an opportunity for you to reflect on yourself, to know what you need and what you don't, and it helps you reassess your values and goals, and from there, make better decisions about how you want to live. However, silence is not avoidance. Silence doesn't mean you don't care, don't feel, or don't have an opinion. Silence is a deliberate choice. You don't say anything because you choose not to react to things that aren't worth it. Silence is a way for you to lead your life, to control your emotions and actions rather than letting the emotions of others dictate your actions. Silence is the sharpest weapon you can use without speaking. It's a powerful strategy to protect yourself, maintain peace, and earn respect from others. And in a noisy world, sometimes silence is the way to create change, build healthy and sustainable relationships, and live a life full of freedom and meaning. Don't try to impress. Live true to your essence. In a society where attention, recognition, and praise seem to be the measure of success, we sometimes get caught up in pleasing others and creating an image of ourselves that we think others want to see. But do we truly realize that striving to impress only takes us further away from our true selves? When you live to impress, you're giving away control of your life to the expectations and opinions of others. You're creating a false identity, not the real you. Each of us has a nature, a unique self. And only when you live true to that nature can you find inner peace and true freedom. Living true to your essence doesn't mean you reject progress. It doesn't mean you don't want to grow. It means you don't need to change to fit someone else's expectations. You are not a tool for others to use, and you don't need to change yourself just to be recognized. When you stop trying to impress and start living according to your core values, you'll see that the respect and love you receive from others are genuine, not based on what you show, but on who you really are. When you stop trying to portray a perfect image, you'll realize that nothing is more valuable than sincerity in every action and word. You don't have to say things you don't truly believe. You don't have to do things just because you fear judgment. When you live true to your essence, you'll attract people who truly match with you, people who accept and love you for who you are. You'll no longer have to pretend, no longer wear a mask to fit society's expectations. What's important is that you must realize that you are not here for the outside world to define. Only you understand your essence, and only you have the right to decide how you want to live. Don't let others' standards make you lose yourself. You don't have to do all those things to prove your worth. Your worth is not something you can perform or show off. It comes from the simple and sincere actions you take every day. When you live to impress, you'll find that the more you do so, the further you feel from yourself. The feeling of not being yourself, always tired and stressed from maintaining the image you think others want to see. But when you live true to your essence, you'll realize that ease, freedom, and peace are the results of not needing to prove anything. You won't have to struggle to earn recognition from others because recognition naturally comes when you live authentically. Never think that success is measured by how you present yourself to others. True success comes from living true to your values, from not backing down in the face of difficulties, from accepting yourself and daring to live the way you want. You don't need to change yourself just to meet the expectations of others. When you live true to your essence, you'll gain respect, not because you try to be seen, but because of your sincerity and confidence. Living true to your essence doesn't mean you won't change or grow. On the contrary, it's the way you grow sustainably with confidence and a clear sense of direction. When you're not running after others' acceptance, you'll find that you can focus on what truly matters to you, on what is genuinely meaningful in life. Change will come naturally when you change to become the best version of yourself, not to meet the expectations of others, but to make yourself proud. When you stop trying to impress, you start truly living. You are no longer limited by what society or others expect from you. You no longer feel the pressure to present a perfect image because you understand that it's your imperfections that make you special. Only when you live sincerely can you truly connect with those around you and live a meaningful life. Finally, never forget that you don't need to do anything to prove your worth. Your worth doesn't come from what you show, it comes from who you truly are. Live true to your essence, and you'll see that recognition, respect, and love will come naturally, without effort. The peace you find when living true to your essence is the greatest reward, and it's something no one can take away from you. Remember, when you stop trying to impress, you'll begin to realize that you don't need to change to be loved. You just need to be yourself. Let your absence redefine your self-worth. In a world where everything moves quickly and people expect you to be present in every situation, you may feel like you must always be there, always meet the needs of those around you. You believe your presence is a given, that when you're there, everything will be fine. But have you ever thought that your absence could actually increase your value? Sometimes it is your absence when you know when to step back that truly helps others see your value more clearly and helps you recognize yourself. When you're always present, when you're the one meeting every request, you not only diminish your value, but also make others take it for granted. You've created a dependency without realizing it. And when you're always present, people forget your true value, seeing you as an essential presence without recognizing that you're a person with unique values, needs, and clear boundaries. It's only when you're absent, when you step out of that whirlwind, that they begin to feel the void you leave behind. And that's when they realize they've become too accustomed to your presence without truly understanding and appreciating it. Kindness, care, help all have value, but when given too easily and too often, they become something expected in the eyes of the receiver. Absence is how you make others realize the value you bring. When you're not there to do everything, they'll start noticing the absence. They'll feel that they can't always rely on you to get things done. And in that moment, your value is redefined. You're no longer an easy presence, but a person of value, someone who can change things when you're there, when you choose to participate. When you step back and move away from the never-ending demands of others, you not only create space for yourself, but also create space for others. This space is an opportunity for you to reassess your goals and values, to focus on what's important, and to rediscover yourself. When you're no longer the one always present, you begin to realize your own importance, the necessity of protecting your time and energy. You'll realize that you don't have to please everyone, and you don't always need to be present for everything to go smoothly. The world doesn't need you to be there all the time, and in fact, you can't give all your time to others without feeling drained. When you begin choosing when to be present and when to step back, you'll realize that you don't have to worry about always meeting everyone's needs. Absence can be a strategy to help you recharge, to see more clearly what you truly want in life. And this doesn't mean abandoning relationships or work. It means affirming that you also need space to grow and do things that bring value to yourself. Letting your absence redefine your value is a process of reassessing your relationships and work. You may have been someone always ready to help, always present in every situation. But when you begin stepping back, you'll realize not every relationship is healthy and not every task is worthwhile. Your absence gives you a chance to look at what you've been doing and are doing. You don't always need to help others to feel valuable. Your worth comes from self-awareness and choosing the right moment to engage and the right moment to step back. Sometimes your absence can change an entire relationship. When you're no longer present as a given, others will start reassessing your importance in their lives. This might make them reconsider what they once took for granted and appreciate your presence more. They'll realize that you're not someone who's always there to meet their needs, and they'll start sensing your true value. Absence doesn't mean you're giving up on relationships or ignoring others. It's simply a way to affirm your value, to ensure no one takes your presence for granted. When you're not present in every situation, you create a space that only you can fill. And when you return, you'll find that your presence is no longer easy, but a precious gift that others will appreciate more. Absence also helps you learn how to respect yourself. When you know when to step back, you not only protect yourself from exhaustion and burnout, but you also create space to reassess your life's goals and direction. You begin to realize that life is not always about pleasing others, but about living true to your own values. Your absence is not giving up. It's a purposeful decision to find peace and balance in life. Let your absence redefine your value. When you're no longer there to do everything for everyone, you'll realize that your presence becomes more important than ever. You don't have to race against time or try to please others to feel valuable. Absence is an opportunity for you to prove to yourself and the world that you deserve to be respected, not because you're always present, but because you know when to step back and when to move forward.